Guys, dredfunn here, or Fred Dunn. That's also my name. I'm actually Fred Dunn the Fourth. My father, grandfather, and great-grandfather all bear the same name, and so does my son. One of my sons. Anyways, I recently got one of these Ancestry.com DNA kits from the wife. The reason being is, yeah, everybody wants to find out where... Oh, check out my cool glasses. Look at that, they snap together. Because I don't want to wear like a beaded necklace. Hello, sir. Can I have a paper?
Yeah, because these make you look so much younger.
Okay, we're not wearing the glasses for the rest
kidding,
of the scene.
I'm kidding.
Anyways, so
you can't read without the glasses. Put them on.
I know. I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to show you guys.
Okay.
I'm going to do a swab thing, and we're going to find out the reason why this is really important to me, and it's something that I've been bugging my family about forever. Is my biological grandfather, Fred Dunn II, he's since passed, but he wasn't born in this country. The story goes that during World War II in Poland, we all know that Hitler and the Third Reich and all that nasty stuff was happening. A lot of young kids were left without places to live, no families, no relatives to go to. So a lot of those kids were shipped overseas to America, the United States, other countries, all over the world. My grandfather was from Poland, and he was sent over here. The way he would tell the story is he was shipped over in a potato sack, and all he remembers of his previous life is just nothing, just not much. Like whether he remembered it and blocked it out or not, I don't know. We've done the numbers. He would have been around 3 years old when he was sent over and adopted. We always thought he was much younger, but 3 is still pretty young, so there's a good chance that he really didn't remember anything. He just remembers vaguely, you know, being covered up, going on a boat, and well, he came to Canada and met his family. And that's where Fred Dunn I and his wife, who at the time had recently moved to Canada from England. I believe they're from, oh gosh.
Gloucester?
Gloucester, yeah. The Forest of Dean, which is an inside story why my grandsons call me Grancher, because Fred Dunn's father, the first Fred Dunn, my grandfather's grandfather was a Grancher. And it's a term that people from there use for their grandfather. Anyways, I digress. So he was adopted by the Dunn family. My great-grandfather, Fred Dunn I, and his wife could not have children. They'd moved here and had a farm. They had some relatives, and they were getting up there in years by those standards in that time. And they really wanted to have some children, and they couldn't. So they decided to adopt, and that's where my grandfather comes in. They went to a orphanage. Nobody has the name. I don't know. Through the passage of time, many relatives have scattered, so I don't know. But he was adopted somewhere in, I believe it was Alberta, probably Calgary or something. I believe he was raised in Bashaw or in and around there. So yeah, he was adopted, and his name was changed to Fred Dunn II. And soon thereafter, Fred Dunn I, my great-grandfather, and my great-grandmother started having babies. Real babies, yeah.
Real babies? Adopted babies are real babies too.
Yes, I know, they are real babies. But anyways, it's a nice little story because my great-grandmother always looked upon my grandfather as her little angel. God sent him to her, and by doing that, you know, opened up whatever it is for them to have more children. Because a lot of times we can get really tense about certain things in life, and I can only imagine the pressures back then on women who were limited with what they could do to affect the world around them. You know, and being a mother is a big deal. Not that it hasn't changed now; it's still a big deal. But, anyways, for some, yeah. So my grandfather was adopted. Then he ended up having some brothers and sisters, and this story was passed around for a long time. And you know, He was born in Poland, adopted here in Canada, and you know, eventually he married my grandmother. They had my father. My father met my mother. They had me. And me being the psycho lunatic on history and geology and all that stuff, I had to know. So even from a young age, like I can remember being 5, 6 years old when I first heard it, I would grill my grandfather and my father and my mother and anybody, any relative. You know, well, he could be Polish royalty. Well, we don't know. Like, was he really from Poland? And now, a side note. It's kind of weird because one of my distant relatives released a novelization of one of my great-great-uncles who fought in the war. And it shows a lot of pictures of my grandfather's adopted family. And they, I don't know if it's me looking, but, and I've met some of my grandfather's siblings when he passed. And I don't know, the resemblances and the mannerisms, they strike me as very, very, very similar. Now, it just, again, it could be me just looking for something. Not to say that my grandfather's story is not true, but I really would like to know, you know, what part of Europe we might have come from. So that's why this ancestry thing is going to go through. So this is like a part 1. Off camera, I'm going to swab my my anus.
No, you cheeky
Oh God, I was sweating. I thought we had to go deep. No, I'm joking. No, so I'm gonna have to. Good thing I didn't do a practice swab beforehand. No, anyways, got to swab my cheek, get some enzymes or whatever on there, and send it off, and then we'll find out. Now, the chances are I'm not gonna find out anything because, let's face it, my grandfather, even if he is Polish, he married a lady of French, native Italian ancestry. I don't know what, it's hard to say.
You're just going to be a whole melting pot anyways.
Yeah, my mother was German-Irish descent, and that's a whole other side story. Like, we don't know who her biological father was and all that stuff. And so this is going to answer a lot of questions on all kinds of ends, you know. So probably answer all those questions and present me with a whole host of others.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, and partially what I'm worried about the most is that the government's going to have my DNA and they're going to secretly clone an army of dredfunn artists, and they will take over the world and then come find me and lock me up in like an underground prison and worship me like some sort of a god, and I'll never get out and free. That's just one of the thoughts. You know, I'm worried that now, like, maybe I'll get a knock on the door after the genetics have been tested and I find out, you know, your bloodline can't exist, and the government wipes me out. Anyways, it's good to be paranoid. So anyways, I'll keep you guys up to date. This is just a little personal thing. I don't even know if this video will go up or not. Probably.
It will.
See you later.
Dredfunn out.
Yeah, dredfunn out.